everybody to GloJoy's Everything Construction Corner. And welcome, Cory, to LinkedIn. How are you today?
Not bad. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. So it looks like, we may be having some issues streaming live on some of the platforms. So, I'm going to sit here and give it a couple of moments, but this is part of technology. It's
Yep,
Friday. You and I are field
that's all right.
people anyway. So we know all about this, right?
We'll work through it. It'll be all right.
We'll work through it. We are live on LinkedIn. We are live on YouTube. So, welcome everybody. We are here with GloJoy's Everything Construction Corner and Cory Fisher of Techdrytools, hailing from the Lincoln, Omaha, Nebraska area. And Techdrytools is an American made product. It is actually this handy dandy 3-in-1 blade system for drywall. And we're going to get into all of that in a little bit. But Cory, why don't you say hi to everybody and welcome to LinkedIn Live.
I appreciate it. I'm excited to see what we can do today, and it's been a long day today. So if the technical problems are caught up, that'll be the best thing today. So we'll be all right.
We'll be all right. We'll be all right. And the beauty of this is also that even though we're live, we also stream this on YouTube, and all of the replays are always live, go live immediately after the show or,
Awesome.
like an hour or so afterwards. Jamie, handles all of that stuff for us in the background. But yeah, so it will go live so that folks can catch a replay. And this is all very, very new to me. I am a remodeler. For folks who don't know me, I'm a remodeler, a construction owner of a construction management company as well, out of the New York tri-state area. And my goal with the Everything Construction community and this live stream is to bring people like Cory Fisher on who normally are not here talking about construction or talking about what they do. So let's start at the very, very beginning, because you are Cory the Man, the Mystery, and a king in the drywall community online on Instagram. But I don't know if the communities here know you. So why don't we start at the beginning? Who is Cory Fisher? And, you're in Nebraska. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I do like to stay in the background a little bit. I'm not a big video person, like we were saying before the show, and I got started out with my dad was a drywall finisher for 40 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when I was 4 or 5 years old, he'd take me on high rises in San Diego with no concrete stairs poured or anything. We'd just be going in the job, and so I've been around drywall my entire life. I was washing tools for Ninja Turtles, and so I did about all of it.
Okay.
Certified drywall contractor in Lincoln. Usually we'll work in Omaha sometimes, but most of the time we stay around Lincoln, and we got our manufacturing in Omaha where our tools are made. So everything's within 40 miles from where we're at. So
Okay. And is dad still with us? Is he
he
still
is,
running
yep.
a drywall crew or a drywall company?
He's retired now.
Okay.
Drywall is really hard on you. So he got out as soon as he could.
Yeah, and I did not do this on purpose to put two drywallers back to back. I really did not. But, I have become a specialty drywall and painting contractor
That's good.
over the years. And, we've really niched into this drywall and painting specialty.
Good.
And so that is my immediate community, and really, like, y'all are my boys.
Good.
So I wanted to have certain folks on for the first 10 episodes, and it just worked out from a scheduling perspective that you were both
Good.
available to back. So yeah. So you got into drywall second generation.
Yep.
At what age did you actually officially start working with your dad?
18.
18.
Yep. Yep.
And I say officially in air quotes because
Right.
you come from a family business and
Yeah.
come from blue collar, like at whatever age you were at, if you could pick up a tool and spot nails, that's what you were doing,
Yep.
because you were still helping.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, I'm sure you had plenty of hands-on training long before you came on board full time at the
Yep.
age of 18.
Yep. Yeah, I was pretty proficient by the time we got out there. So
And were you sweeping floors, or was dad giving you like
I
rooms
did,
to tape mud up and do level
did
fives
it
and go
all.
on?
My first job was before I was probably 12. He let me drive the truck around the house, and I'd throw all the scrap out of the windows for each time. Find excuses to move the truck to the next window, so we go down and drive it. But scrapping houses was probably my very first scrapping, sweeping.
Okay, and for folks here on LinkedIn, because we're trying to merge the blue and the white collar
Yep.
with this show, it's really important to us to bring the blue collar guys who are also doing, white collar things like running
Yep.
businesses and manufacturing and all of that, which we'll get into and morph it into one and vice versa. So, what is scrapping?
When you have a giant pile of rock in the middle of the house and you need to get it
Right?
away.
Right. And, usually that happens a couple of times
Yep.
during the
Yep.
job, right?
Yep.
Where the drywall needs to get moved depending on, how small the space is and how many materials are on site and
Yep.
how organized the job site is and all that stuff. And I'm sure you're a professional sweeper at this point also,
I
right? At
sweep very
18.
well.
Okay. But that's great experience, right? And
Oh, for
so
sure.
you start working with your dad at the age of 18. You work with him for how long before you either decide to create this tool or go do something else?
I think I was with my dad for 6 years before he retired. And then I
Hmm.
went to a bigger company in Omaha.
Okay.
And then that's kind of where I got the idea for that. And now we're contracting in Lincoln and
Hmm.
running Techdry.
Nice. And you never thought of a different route? Like it was just straight drywall for you? Like, did you try other jobs or did you go to
I haven't.
college?
I
Uh,
haven't. There's no college, no other job.
okay.
I don't really know what else I would do, to be honest with you.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Uh,
I want it to be normal for
yeah,
people to feel this way. So that's why I'm bringing people on where they're like, what else am I supposed to do?
it's a love-hate thing with drywall. Like I said,
Okay.
I don't know what else I would do, but at the same time, I do enjoy my job. I enjoy the camaraderie at work.
Okay.
The actual art of making something, is fun. And I don't know, I guess I like it. I guess I'm just here stuck with it now.
Right. I mean, a lot of times I feel like, right, folks who grow up in a family that is entrepreneurial, they either go the route, and we see this with multi-generational businesses or, businesses that are taken over by the offspring of,
Yeah.
the previous owner. And so we have these like family offices unofficially within the construction space where we have third, fourth generation general contractors or specialty contracting businesses, and they're passed on generation to generation. Or in your case, your father retired and you went somewhere else and then started
Yeah.
your own thing later on. Still second generation though, entrepreneur and specialty contractor in the drywall space. So very cool, very cool. And it's okay that you didn't go to college. Did you know right away that you didn't want to go to college? Was when you were in high school, and this is It's a sensitive question, but like, did you feel like a pressure to go to college, or were your school counselors pretty, I guess, supportive of the fact that you just wanted to follow along your father's footsteps?
I think for our generation, it was really pushed to go to college.
Hmm.
And only recently has it been okay to go to the end of the trades. But I knew for sure school wasn't for me.
And
I
how did you know that?
That's
Because
my
there's got to be
personality.
markers.
Yeah, just not my personality. I couldn't wait to get out of high school
Hmm.
and just get on with what needs to happen. So I enjoy it though.
Cool. So you're doing drywall, I guess, now for well over a decade.
Yep.
Let's turn over to this. Your 3-in-1. It's your
Yep.
signature tool. It's how
Yep.
you and I met. And, I purchased your tool because I was working on a heritage house, as they call it in Canada. But here in the US, I was really just working on a restoration project with some really interesting, like, spaces between the windows, the wall, and the trim.
Yep.
And I got really tired of swapping tools out or trying to figure stuff out. I saw Kayla using this, online on Instagram. And like anything else, I reach out to Kayla and I'm like, where do I get one of those? And here we are, right? And I've used it, rebuilt it. You just sent me a rebuild kit
Yep.
because you're very, very involved with everything. So, where did this idea come from? And how long have you been around?
From the same reason that you needed it. We were doing we do when I was at the bigger company, we would do great big hospitals and just giant commercial buildings. And you'd
Okay.
have to run back and forth, to get tools.
Mhm.
And one day I was bent down and my 2-inch knife didn't fit all the way at the bottom of the door frame. And it made me mad. So I was like all the way across this building to go get this other tool. So
Right.
it slowly developed into one knife, that folded out. And I was like, well, that'd be the same situation. So then we started with 2 and 3. And I've got a couple prototypes with 4 and 5 blades in them, but I felt that was a little bit overkill. So then we
Yeah.
narrowed it down to 3, and here we are. And we found a guy
Okay.
to make them, and we're off and running.
And what year was this?
We had the idea in 2016, probably, maybe 17. And it took us a year and a half or 2 years to develop it where it would work with drywall mud.
Okay.
And probably 6 months to get the company up and going. So that puts us at probably mid 2020.
Okay.
And here we are. So we've been about 2.5 years now.
Okay, so I've known you for now, I would say about a year and a half.
Yep,
So, I mean, I am an early adopter
100%.
of the Techdrytools. I did
Yep.
not know that. That's so cool.
You
Yeah.
probably have a fairly low number one. I'll bet you yours is in the 400s. I would
Wow.
I would guess because it was actually pretty slow. Our first week was good, and
Mhm.
we moved a couple hundred that first week because we kind of had some delays, and
Mhm.
then after that we picked up CSR and a couple Tapers United and a couple retail places in Canada, and then it's
Mhm.
really taken off from there. I think we're at probably right around 4,000 units right now.
Okay, that's a pretty significant jump in a very, very short period of time,
Yeah,
and we definitely want to see more of that from you and obviously from Techdrytools. And so part of that is part of being here today and being on LinkedIn Live is to put you in front of people in the construction industry who are
yep,
not on Instagram at all and are not a part of our handy dandy super cool drywall community, right?
it's the
That
best.
communicates and talks to each other and mentors each other, back and forth. on a weekly basis, and I've gotten to meet some pretty cool folks over on Instagram, and I never ever see them posting on LinkedIn, and unless they're on the Drywall podcast, or
Yep.
they're doing some sort of commercial or really big influencer, they're not going to be on YouTube. So our goal is to get you and other people in front of new faces and in front of people who could maybe get you into another CSR, right?
That'd be all right.
There's companies like Home Depot, obviously, in
Yep.
the United States, and if there's anybody from the Home Depot HD Supply family, please, make sure that you hit up Cory. And Cory, I want my commission.
Yep.
Lowe's, if you're
5%.
listening. Lowe's, if you're here and you're listening, and in the audience or catching a replay, we will most definitely want to hear from you. And, I say that because not about me or any commission, but really, this has saved me so many times.
Good.
And so many times, I've had to figure out how to fix a patch that is ugly because we're in New York and landlords do what landlords do, and
They
then
do.
it's got that New York layer to it. It's
They
like,
do.
right? And so, I like to come in and do like a little bit of magic, right? And like a glow up and everything. And we want, if the rest of the wall looks beautiful, we don't want that one little corner
Yep.
to look like we like did the mud with our
Yep.
finger, or,
Yep.
just stuck it on there, stuff that people do, right? Like, I don't even need to explain it because everybody has seen this at some point. Like, it's obvious that they gave up.
Yeah, detail work is huge with drywall finishing.
Yeah.
The big main part of the wall, I don't want to say it's easy because it's still an art, but a lot of people look at the little areas, and it gets overlooked. Even if you're a professional, it gets overlooked. And I think it just makes it easier.
Especially in commercial.
100% in commercial. That's usually what we do is commercial tenant developments, small new construction, not too much residential.
Yeah, you and I are in a very similar space.
Yep.
I try to stay in that commercial build out, fit
Yep.
out space.
Yep.
And we try to do as little as possible. We're finish remodeling company. And I really, the detail, the attention to detail, and the long lasting aspect, right? We want our work to last. We don't want it to chip off or, come back 6 months later and it has to be redone, or it's cracking at the seams, right?
Yep.
It's commercial. You slam doors a lot, particularly in the spaces that we're at. They're community spaces, fitness spaces. And if you don't do things right, there could be cracking around the doors. We see it all the time, big cracks in the seams. And, I'm sure you see that as well. And a lot of that has to do with the detail work,
Yep.
for sure.
And that cuts down on your warranty work too. The better job you do, the less you have to go back, and you're keeping more money.
And how long are your warranties typically for your work? Because your work is beautiful and you've been doing it for such a long time. You're probably one of the people that's most highly regarded in the drywall community in terms of the quality of your work. You spray everything, and
Yep.
it's all top quality, like
Yep.
top notch.
We do a lot of level 5 here. Not much texture, so all smooth wall. And we do a minimum of a year warranty.
Okay.
And we have a lot of contractors that only use us. So
Okay.
we will do a little extra warranty work. If there's a crack here, a crack there, or some damage, we'll go back and get it. It's not any big deal when you're going to give us your next job without even looking at our price.
Right. And even if it's like a foundation issue or like another trade issue, like you're just like, I'll just fix it because
A
you have
lot of
that
the time.
relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of the time. There is some contractors that, will get you, but not very often.
Well, people are people, and
Yeah,
people always try to get as much as they can from,
100% they do.
whoever, right? Like I try to get as much as I can from my
Yeah.
accountant. Shout out to the accountant. I try to get as much as I can out of you guys,
Yep,
and thank you for the rebuild kit, right? That
for sure.
wasn't something that I wouldn't have paid for, but at the same time, I think you see the quality in customer service and also in
You
just
have
building
to.
a relationship.
Yep,
And so I know that you're not going around handing out free tools to everybody because I've paid for my tools,
yep,
right?
yep.
And I happily would pay for many more, right?
For sure.
But I don't need to. They last, right? And that's where I want to segue to. So these tools are made in America.
They are. Yep.
Why? Why? It's more expensive here. Isn't that what they say?
It's it's probably 30% more expensive here. I when we first started, before we started, I got bids from China, and I could
Okay.
save about $12 a tool on my end by
Okay.
having them made in China. So that would be $12 per tool in my pocket. You know
Okay.
that we're not paying. Just to have it made here.
And
And
at 4,000 units, y'all do a
yeah,
little contractor math here.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to do it for you, but so why after year one, because it's 2023, or year two,
Mhm.
have you not moved your operations to China? I mean, if we're talking, this is a business, right? And I'm not promoting that you do, but there's reasons why you're choosing to make your tools in America and there's value in it. So
Yep.
that's kind of what I'm getting to with these questions.
That is a lot of our marketing is made in USA. We have jobs here that we're providing for people. I think it's almost easier to because then you're not dealing with logistics and landing costs and having to deal with Chinese manufacturers. And if I got a whole container of these from China and they're no good, if they're a little bit off or the lock doesn't work, like they're not going to work with me. They're going to say, "Well, you bought it. It's already in the U.S. and there you go." But if I get them made here, I could go up to TSA, the guy that's making them, Craig, and
Hmm.
he'd take them all back, or he'd write me a check for all of them. It wouldn't even
Right.
wouldn't even be an issue.
So for you, you're a proud American,
Yep.
and we're all proud Americans here and proud to be American. And I think that that's something that needs to be celebrated, and often not. Um, it's not very popular to be proud to be an American these
Not today.
days.
It's not.
It's not. So it's great to, interact with folks in the community.
Yep.
I think the blue collar industries as a whole, from agriculture to the trucking and, oil and gas, and then there's us and everything that encompasses the construction industry and industrial and all of that, are very much proud to be American, and that's because we are building America, like
Yeah.
straight up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so there's a sense of pride and ownership in that, and we see it. I was not raised in this country. I am American, and have always been proud to be American. However, I wasn't raised in the United States, so I have seen many other countries and the sense of pride and ownership that they have, and
Yep.
how they celebrate their flag days and their monarchies, whether we agree with them or not. We have President's Day, and it's just there's so much respect, and so it's beautiful to see somebody that is just so proud to be American and proud to provide jobs in America. So providing jobs in America is important to you. And how many people are working currently at the, I guess, manufacturing plant for Techdrytools or for the
There,
people that do it?
there's three of us, and like I said, we're having them manufactured at TSA in Omaha,
Okay.
and they have a huge factory. They do a lot of machine work. They make nuts and bolts, bridge casings, all kinds of stuff.
So without obviously telling us your trade secrets, how are these made? You know, how did you come up with the sizes of the, like blades here, right?
Yep,
Like how did you select the sizes? And there's obviously this little,
yep,
people can see it, locking mechanism
yep,
right here. And it does come apart so you can rebuild it. There's like screws on either side as well, and everything just kind of slides very neatly in there. So very, very nice design, kind of like a pocket knife
yeah.
almost, and it fits really nicely in my pocket, even my girl pockets, which women very rarely have great pockets in our pants. So you, and I don't think you were thinking of that obviously at the time, but
It
there's a lot of
works.
female
It
there's
works.
a lot of females that do drywall, and so the tool is, it's got some weight on it, so it's definitely sturdy. So how did you come up with the overall sizing and design of all of it, and how it's put together?
Well, we wanted it to be rebuildable because the price on it is it's more than your regular knife. It's a quality tool, so we wanted something that you could have for a while. You can go throw a $15 rebuild kit in it and have a brand new tool again.
Well, it is. Let's backtrack. It isn't. It isn't. How much would it cost for me to buy three of these separately?
You're not wrong, I guess. So
Okay.
if you bought three quality knives, if you bought a half inch, a 1 inch, and a two, you're
Mhm.
going to be at about $36 to $38,
Right.
and we're at 55. But
Okay.
we also have a lifetime warranty, and you're not going to stab the seat of your truck when you leave your knife in your back pocket. So that alone can save you $100.
And you say stab the seat of your truck when you
Yep,
leave your knife in your back pocket,
yep,
because when we do drywall and we're swapping between one knife and the other, very often we don't wear tool belts, and we're taking one knife and putting it in our
yep,
back pocket, and then taking the other one and whipping it out and doing
yep,
what we need to do, and then we might forget that we have a knife in our back pocket and stabbing
yep.
ourselves in the back seat. And I say that because, hey, I may have done that once or twice already.
Yep,
So I know exactly what you're talking
yep,
about. And outside of my Purdy paint tool, like, which has its own uses, and that's foldable as well.
yep. That's a good tool.
I don't really put anything else in my back pocket but these two now.
Good, good. I
Yeah.
like the fold or the Purdy tool. That's a really good product. I enjoy that one too.
Yeah, yeah. So we have these different sizes, and obviously it's
Mhm.
to get into hard to reach places.
Yep,
The foldable is so that we don't stab ourselves.
yep.
And then let's talk about material.
We use the highest grade stainless we can, so it's not putting off any rust. Because
Okay, I've noticed that because I've left it wet.
yep, and you can leave it in the water bucket for as long as you want. We use, I believe it's a 403. So some stainless reacts with aluminum. Some of our first prototypes, a low grade stainless will weld
Hmm.
itself to aluminum while it's in the water. So
Okay.
we had to step it up to a better stainless for that. And we're doing our blades with a water jet. We tried a laser cutter, but it heats up the blades and it gives them just a slight bend to some of them. So we have access to one of the biggest water jets in the Midwest, so we can run 10 by 10 sheets and just cut them all out as we go. And then we also use a really nice aluminum for the case, and we'll CNC that with a 4-axis machine.
Okay.
And that's currently broken at the moment. We're pushing it too hard right now. We're having a hard time keeping up, and we got a guy coming from Illinois Monday, I think, to recalibrate our machine. So
I have a friend whose husband recalibrates machines.
yeah,
Like he's one of those guys that travels and does this stuff. And up until I started talking to you all you tool manufacturers that kind of hang out and live and breathe on Instagram, and it's brilliant. I mean, it's amazing R&D. Why not? And it's easy. And so, I didn't really understand, but now, like, I get it. There's all these CNCs and other laser type cutting tools. Yeah, there's a lot. And, you don't know what you don't know until you know, right?
100%.
I was driving late last night to go to the airport at JFK, and we drove past one road construction, and the guy wasn't using water, but he was cutting, the road. And there was a huge cloud of dust, and I was like, oh man, this guy does not love himself.
Yep.
The other guy was sitting there on his phone, like he could have been there with a hose at least, like spraying some water, right? And then we passed by it, and it literally looked like there was a fire in that area.
Oh, yeah.
We were driving from far away, like it literally looked like there was a fire. So we keep driving, and we're heading, closer to JFK, another area with construction. Obviously, it was super late last night because, tons of roadway construction. But it was a much more organized site, and they had their water, and it was cleaner, and they had proper flaggers and like all this other stuff. And so, it was just a much neater operation. But honestly, if I didn't work in the construction industry and I didn't work in New York, where sometimes we have to cut concrete foundations to get into plumbing or to, do repairs or what, I would have never known the difference between using a wet saw or dry saw or, why there was a cloud of dust and why there wasn't. And of course, when people are in the car with me, they have to hear all this stuff.
And that's what's good about shows like this is it brings a little awareness to what happens. And, if you're driving down the road and you see that, you get lumped together into a group of savages.
Yeah.
So sometimes people don't understand what they pay for. When you pay a little extra, you get the little things like that,
including the government, right? Because those were both government contractors.
Yeah.
So, for all these people doing out there, shout out to all my government contractors here on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And I know I have many. You get what you pay for, pay for a little bit of quality. It's okay that a minority contractor's bid was a little bit higher than, the other person or, the other guy or gal, you're going to get a better quality contractor. That's the difference between the guy using the wet saw and not.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, that can turn into a safety hazard too, like even just a little cleanliness can go a really long way.
Especially with mud. So I have my first apprentice right now. And we is like one of the biggest things that I have tried to iterate. Like when we finish using a tool, particularly mud tools, we want to make sure that we have a sponge, a wet bucket with a sponge, and we wipe the tool down and then just kind of hang it to dry or whatever, or just drop it in water. Like you said, we don't want to just leave dirty tools lying around. But the biggest thing is splatters, because anybody can slip and fall on like a
100%.
splatter of mud, especially if there's no floor protection or
Yep.
anything of that nature. And then the ones that, you know, do end up making it are the ones that get that cleanliness piece
Yeah.
right off the gate. If
Yep.
they don't get the cleanliness piece right off the gate, then, you know, it's tough. It's tough, and it might go downhill from there, and they might not make it.
It
you
took
know.
me 5 years to learn how to stay clean doing this. When I first started, I would take my clothes out in the driveway and I would hose them off before I could even put them in the washing machine. They were so bad. So it takes time and awareness to actually stay clean while you're doing it.
So I'm pretty good at staying clean if I'm by myself.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. Yeah.
But if I'm working with somebody or training somebody, and, you know, training people is newer, right? Because we are looking to hire people, and I would like to hire from within. So I've partnered with some like local training programs within the community, and, you know, working with helpers here and there, you know, 1 or 2 days to see who catches interest, and, you
Yep.
know, who might be a good fit. And so far, I've found 1 or 2 candidates that might be a good fit. But what I have found is that when I am trying to teach or trying to work with somebody and make sure that like my 45 doesn't dry, or, you know, whatever, that I can stay clean. So I have a great video of me demonstrating the 3-in-1 tool, and I haven't posted it because my entire hand
That's all right.
looks like it was dipped
That's all right.
in mud.
Sometimes that happens, and you have to work through it. And then once you get your project done, you take a minute and you get everything cleaned up, that's good for your mental awareness too, because obviously you had a frustrating moment.
No, I know exactly what happened, but at the same time, I was working in a large commercial space, and to your point, I didn't want to walk all the way
Yep,
down the hallway to go to the bathroom to wash my hand
yep,
to make it perfect to then come back and do this video. By the time I did that, I'd have had to mix more mud. And I
yep.
waited until the end of the day till we were done, and there was like a tiny bit of mud left. And I left that one corner. The rest of the room was done. There's that one corner with the plaster weld on it, you know?
Yep.
And I did the video, and when I looked at the video after the fact, I remember exactly what happened. I did drop a knife in the mud, and I dunked my hand in to grab it. And I do not I hate wearing like final gloves to do work.
Yeah, I don't do
They
gloves
don't,
either.
I see people wearing them, but I'm not, you know, not a huge fan. So anyway, my hand was just, I'm left-handed. My hand was, I mean, it was red. It was like
Yeah.
white, like of mud. And it was just really funny. I'm going to send you the videos anyway, because I think they're great and they're
Post it.
hilarious. Uh,
Post it.
yeah, they're hilarious. But, you know, you do have to learn how to keep clean. And in my very, very early days, I could not, for the life of me, keep the front of my shirt clean at all. For I don't know why, but
When
now,
you start out, you naturally hold the pan here, and you have to train yourself to hold it out here. And as the day goes on, you get tired and it gets closer and closer and closer. And then by the end of the day, you have a big white spot.
so I didn't think about that, but you're right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, you're right. And I've gotten to the point now where I don't overfill my pans either.
Yep.
And I've also gotten really good at the consistency. And I think that that's something that folks struggle with a lot in the beginning is
Consistency is huge with mud.
yeah, yeah. And so For me, I think one of the hardest parts is also understanding that depending on what tool you're using or what you're mudding,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and what layer you're on, the consistency is always going to be different. And also, you might be utilizing a little bit different product, right?
100%. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, all things that I didn't know when I was a project manager or just a project manager, because I still do project management and it's probably 80% of our revenue. I just enjoy being out on the tools and
Mhm.
being a part of training programs, and there's no better way than to physically do it yourself. And so I definitely found, now that I've been on the side of the tools versus just project managing, understanding a little bit more what the materials that the field was asking me for versus me just saying, "Oh, figure it out."
A lot of project managers never get that experience. They'll go right from school to project manager and just become good at what they do. It's really nice. I've had a couple project managers, not many, two or three, that would actually be able to finish drywall. So you're doing really good.
Thanks. And I don't consider myself like a professional drywall finisher just yet, although that is the specialty of my remodeling company. And I have really focused my time and energy over the past year to really understand all the tools, to understand the technique, to
Good.
understand the mud, to understand, how to restore plaster versus how to tape regular drywall,
Yep.
the different types of sheets, where to use them, etc. These are all things that we know from working with the architects and engineers and project management. So that's not really new to me. But just having the right consistency, knowing which product to use where and when, and what tools to use where and when, and the feel of it, right? You either got it or you
Yep.
don't,
Yep.
and some people are natural at it, like I would consider myself pretty natural at it, and some people are not. And I've spoken to folks like, Richard, who's another tool designer out there in the community. And honestly, it's really about the end product. It does
It
not,
is.
I know there's a preferred method of how to hold the knife and, all these other things, but it's how you get to the end result, that
It
matters.
is. It is exactly the end result. And just like you said, when you how to hold your knife and it little things like that is whatever's comfortable for you. Like when you pick up a dart for the first time when you're gonna go play darts, like whatever's comfortable for you. If you hold it this way or a finger on this side or two on the blade, whatever works for you is great.
Or even playing golf or
Yeah.
baseball, or
Yep.
swinging a golf club or a baseball bat. I typically will compare it to.
Hmm.
So there are preferred techniques by preferred coaches and trainers and teams even,
Yep.
but then there's all the lefties, and I'm a lefty, right? And so I realize that most of the people who are designing these tools are right-handed, and most of the people that are utilizing the tools are also right-handed. Therefore, most of the tools are designed
They
for
are.
right-handed people. So if I hold my tool just a little bit different than everybody else, maybe it's because I'm adjusting because
Yep.
I'm left-handed.
Yep.
And just like I need to have a can opener that's different as a left-handed person, there are some tools that just, you know, doesn't matter how I turn it or
Yep.
whatever. With the knives, it's pretty straightforward. Left-handed, right-handed, they work exactly the same. So that's not a big deal. But
Ours was designed for right-handed people because you're supposed to hold it in your hand and hit
mhm.
the button. But you
Oh,
seem
I
to
know. That's why I struggle to open it
you seem to do
sometimes.
really good with it though.
Yeah, so I've gotten better at it, but yeah. So but I'm using my right hand, right,
Yeah,
to do it.
yeah,
So there's no way I'm going to do it with my left hand. And I've become a little bit ambidextrous as
good.
I've gotten more on tools. And also when I'm doing doing ceilings, you know, my left shoulder will get tired, so I'll be like, all right, it's time to do right-handed
Yeah,
shoulder raises because that's literally what it feels like. And I started to use skimming blades because I've been rolling so much.
yeah,
And the skimming blades are great because I'm like you. I'm pretty much doing commercial and it's almost always level 5 and there's like
yep,
fire rating requirements and ways in which we need to tape things a little bit differently and hang
yep,
drywall. And so, it's a little bit different. I'm curious about the spraying and the, you know, I guess you're going to use the skimming blade after you spray it too.
not always.
Are you are you using like a trowel?
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
We're pan and knife people in the Midwest.
Okay.
It's kind of weird because it's regional. So Midwest out to the West Coast is usually pan and knife.
Mhm.
Up in the Northeast,
Pen and
it's
knife.
pan and knife, and they do have some hawk and trowel like up in Maine and New Hampshire and stuff.
But
And that's
mostly pan and knife because that's
yep,
what I learned. Pan and
yep.
knife and all hand taping.
And a
I did.
lot of
No semi-automatic tools. None.
no, all automatic up there. Canada seems to be a little bit more heavy on the hawks and trowels up there, and
Noticed. Yeah.
we will use them. If I'm doing columns or if we're doing EPIS or stucco or something like that, we'll always use a hawk and trowel. But
Okay.
with drywall, you kind of need the pan and knife if you're mixing up Durabond or. I think it's easier to hold and use myself, but nothing against a hawk and trowel. They're great to use.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I use a lot of plaster Paris,
Yep.
and we have to repair a lot of plaster walls here,
Yep.
and so that should dry fast. You
Yeah.
know?
And it's a lot easier to clean a hawk than it is a pan once the plaster of Paris or something sets off on it.
Right, right. So for some applications, I might use a hawk
Yep.
versus a trowel.
Yep.
I mean versus a pan.
Yep.
But I myself did learn pan and knife,
Yep.
and as I mentioned to Nick in the drywall podcast, which I recorded a little bit earlier today for him, I picked it up and it was because I had to finish a project that another drywall subcontractor had underbid
Mm-hmm.
and I had to finish off all the closets and there was a lot of angles and ceilings and
Yep.
all kinds of stuff and that's where I picked up the roller for the first time
Yep.
and Kayla told me to order a roller, so I did. I ordered myself a roller, and she got me introduced to trim techs and a few other things. And she was like, You've hung drywall before." She's like, "So, I would assume that you or your team." Hung the drywall or at least quality checked the drywall hanging, so it shouldn't be too hard. And she was right. I was really blessed that, the drywall was hung properly.
Yep.
And so it wasn't a lot of work, but it, I only knew, that method at the time. So that's kind of what I rolled with. And then just started asking questions online and sliding into influencers' DMs like Kayla
Hey.
and
Yeah.
others and asking them what tools I should be using and, any best practices. And I think almost everybody told me just do it. Like
Yep.
you just got to get in there and
100%.
start doing it and keep doing it. And yes, there's best practices, but you'll catch your groove with tools. And
Yep.
they're absolutely right, absolutely right. And In the beginning, there's a lot more sanding than when you get better. you know.
There is. That's great. You have Kayla as a resource though, because she does a really good job, and not all influencers online exactly know what they're doing down to a T.
That's very true.
You can watch Kayla, and she has a plan. She
Mhm.
knows exactly where the mud needs to go, and she's been doing this for a really long time.
Yeah.
So she is a great person to ask.
Absolutely. And I love that I have resources like
Yep.
her, and that I also have resources like you and others
Yep.
that I can lean on to ask questions, and that the community is just so welcome and open to providing feedback. And
Mhm.
I have to give great kudos to you, because that room, remember, it was that vaulted room. It was the
Yep.
third
Yep.
floor, and I didn't want to post anything about it. And it was the first time that I'd done a whole room, and the closets, and finished it all by myself. And I sent it to you and I think two or three other people, because you all asked me what I was working on at the time, and I was ranting and raving about how awesome this thing was, in that one window. And you were like, "Oh, that looks great. You should post it." And I was like,
Post
"No,
it.
I don't want, the trolls to come and start saying stuff,
They
blah blah
always
blah."
do. They always do every time. And actually, Kayla actually helped me with that too, because when she started out, she would get hate bad. Like I'm. This is like 2017, 2018, when Facebook groups were real big,
I
and
remember that. I
they
remember
would
that.
they would just tear her apart on there, and she would just be like, "Whatever, yeah, I don't care. I'm posting it tomorrow."
Yeah, she has a lot of confidence,
Yeah,
and coming from a previous career for me, it's really weird. I'm going to be honest with you. It's really weird to be here on LinkedIn talking about taping
drywall.
drywall. Because most people know me as a real estate agent, or as a
Yeah.
banker, or as even Gloria, the construction manager. They don't know me as Gloria, the drywall taper. In fact, my insurance guy, shout out to Isaac, who is on LinkedIn and is very heavy into the construction community here on LinkedIn. When I was going through the questions of answering the questions for the insurance, that I needed for my business.
Hmm.
And I shop around for insurance every 6 months. I just want to make sure that I'm getting the best deal
Yep.
and the best coverage. And so I'm constantly looking at different, coverage and offerings. And so when he found out that I was self-performing, he straight up thought I was just getting the jobs, and I had a crew, and they would go out and do the work, and I was like, no, I'm the one out there doing the drywall, and
Yep.
hanging the drywall, and taping and mudding, and doing the stuff. Like, if you look at the other social medias, like the videos, that's me. you know
I'm doing it. Bring my rate down.
well, what's really funny is that, they were taking aback only because they know me as Gloria, the business person, not
Yeah.
Gloria, the tradesperson. And it's very rare that somebody goes from business to trade. It's usually trade to business. So, I assume that you still probably have a business, but you are now running mostly this business, right? So are you
We're
still
doing
on
both.
tools, or
We're doing both right now.
okay?
We need to get some more tools coming out. We got some new skimming blades coming out and some offset knives here soon.
Okay.
As soon as we can get caught up on running these, we're going to get some more products coming out. But I just can't turn the machine off to get anything else to come out yet, or we need more machinery, one of the two. But yeah, we're doing both. So we're up at 3:30 in the morning every day, and it's probably till 4:30 or 5, and then home doing tech dry
Home stuff.
on Instagram, and yeah, it's a lot right now.
It's a lot. And so, as we wrap up the last couple 5 minutes here,
Yep.
we try to keep our show at exactly an hour, and it's just a fun Friday afternoon. You've been
Yep.
such a great guest, answered all my questions.
For sure.
I I want to know, and you kind of already answered this, what is next for Techdrytools, right? And Cory Fisher. So you've got this 3-in-1, and we didn't really touch on it too much, but you've recently received a patent for this. Is that correct?
We did. We got our patent in September. We're still waiting on the hard copy, but it is issued. We
Yep.
won a couple awards in September for it. We won the Pro Tool Innovation Awards for putty knives and scrapers.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we need some more U.S. retail to come on board. We do well in Canada.
Nice.
We're moving. Well, it's hard to tell really. At the bottom of the line, 3 a week per retail store in Canada, which is really good.
Nice.
Sometimes it can be upwards of 10 a week. So we need to get, like I said, more retail in the U.S. But the problem is tools are so competitive.
That's true.
We've even had our competitor call some of our smaller dealers and say that if you're going to carry Techdry, we're not going to ship you any more orders. So it's that competitive.
Interesting.
And we don't really have a leg to stand on because we got one product, but hopefully we'll have a little bit more leverage here once we get our skimming blades and our offsets out. And, we've showed a couple people our concepts. We have some pre-orders sold. Kayla's seen our skimming blades and our offsets. So she'll be one of the first ones to get them, try them out and let us know what we think.
Nice. And I think she's a good person to do so, because she's tried pretty much all the different tools. I reached out to her and asked her what trowel to get, because I'm going to try some Fresco, and there's a couple other things. I just think a trowel might be a better fit. And she said she had 14 trowels.
The reason I want to send them to Kayla is she's going to tell you the exact truth behind it.
Yeah, she is. She told me she had 14 trowels, and she told me the 2 that she uses the most and why. And she told me it's really a matter of preference as to whether I want a wood handle or, the black titanium, but that was it. But she did, out of the 14 trowels, give me her honest review. And that's why I go to her, right? Because, that way I don't have to buy 14 trowels. And, I can try them out myself.
She doesn't use any tools in her videos that she doesn't use either.
That's correct. That is correct.
Everybody sends her tools. She has a whole shed of tools of every brand and everything. And if she doesn't use them, she won't use them.
Oh, I know. And I believe it. And I have a whole closet full of boots that I don't use, because there was a time that, when I was working site safety, and it was the pandemic, and there weren't very many people on site, let alone women on site. The tool manufacturers and companies were sending me, not tools, the boots were sending me boots left and right, and they all suck. Like they all suck. I always revert back to my Ariat boots. So, but they'll send them to you to try them. And as long as they're okay with my honest feedback, which is what I've said to folks, that have sent me stuff to try, just know that if I'm going to go online and give feedback, and I don't like it, it's going to be I tried it, I think it's a good concept, maybe not for me. Or, I tried it and I think it's a great tool, but because I'm left-handed and it only opens right-handed, it's not for me, or whatever, right? And most left-handed people, I think, with tools are pretty ambidextrous. I would like to think I myself am pretty ambidextrous, because I grew up playing sports where they only had the right-handed one. So, you have to figure it out. So where can people find you, Cory?
We are everywhere we can be. We have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I believe we're still on TikTok,
Okay.
Techdrytools.com.
Okay. And in terms of if I was a supplier, because that's who you want to reach out to, right?
Yep.
Suppliers that are going to put this in their retail spaces and
Yep.
sell them retail. If I was a supplier, what is the best way to reach out to you? You have an email address or a link on your website that we can direct people to?
We do. We have Tech Dry Tools questions, or you can just reach out to me directly at Cory at techdrytools.com. And I always have my phone, always got my headphones in. I'm usually get back to people within 10 minutes. So
And he really does, folks. He
I
really
do.
does. He gets back to people very, very quickly.
We
So,
try.
Cory, it's been a pleasure getting to
Yeah.
know
Thank
you
you.
a little bit better. It's really cool that you're second generation.
Yeah.
And, shout out to your pops
Yeah.
for doing a good job and raising a good man, and also just somebody so creative because, you're second generation, but first generation tool manufacturer and
Yep.
designer. I know that for a fact. And,
Yep.
it takes a lot of, as we say in Espanol, cojones to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. It absolutely does. Some days are better than others.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here. Thank you
for
so
sure.
much for joining the live stream. Folks, this has been another episode of GloJoy's Everything Construction Corner. Next week, we do have another guest. Not next week, in 2 weeks, we do have another guest coming on board. And usually I have folks that know the previous guest on, and this stems from my days on the radio and audio app. But Cory does not know our next guest. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. Her name is Liz, and Liz is a home builder, luxury home builder in the Buckhead area in Georgia. And so we're going to bring a woman in construction who's been around for over 20 years, builds some incredible kitchens, additions, and does some pretty awesome things over there because very much like Texas, I have learned that Georgia just likes to do things big, like really, really big. And I think that has a lot to do with the space that they have there. I've never been to Nebraska, but I would presume it's pretty similar, right?
It's
Like they like
open.
it's open, they like their stuff big. So I'm pretty excited to bring Liz on board. We don't do a lot of residential here. And there's not a lot of women who have stuck around the construction industry for 20 plus years and, still going and innovating the way that she is. So very exciting to have Liz join us next week. And, excited to put this online and share it with the rest of the folks. Folks, make sure you follow Cory at Techdrytools and make sure that you, of course, like, follow, subscribe, and tap the notification bell for these shows. Make sure that if you're on LinkedIn, you join the events, which we'll post the event for the next show in the comments here. And then, of course, on YouTube or all the other platforms, tap on that notification bell and make sure that you have, us on so that the algorithm knows to notify you when we come on. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
Cory. Bye.
Thanks for having
Have
us
an
on.
and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll catch you guys after the holiday. Enjoy your turkey day.